What's the percentage that you think gets this deal done?
Oh, I don't think Adam Silver has any interest in pegging it to a percentage at all. And Adam Silver addressed the media during the League Cup final in Vegas and said that he'll get involved if they want him to. But here's the surprise. He's been involved from the beginning. What he was saying is, will I go to the actual table? You don't need the commissioner of the NBA to be at this table at any time. But what they've done is they've extended the deadline first by 30 days, 40 days. So it's been a total of 70 days, which all you're doing is delaying a work stoppage. You want to get to that work stoppage because that's a legal term of art. You want to get to some sort of lockout or strike so then it can go to the next stage of these negotiations.
When you hear the question, what's the percentage chance this deal actually happens? The truth is, nobody really knows, and Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, doesn't seem to be thinking in terms of percentages at all. Silver has addressed the media multiple times, even during high-profile events like the League Cup final in Las Vegas, and the message has always been consistent. He'll step in if needed, but he isn't planning to sit at the negotiating table unless it's absolutely necessary. The surprising thing is, he's already been involved from the very beginning behind the scenes. What he means when he says he won't go to the table is that his presence isn't required to advance the negotiations directly. Yet, even without him physically at the table, there has been progress, or at least delays. The league extended the deadline for negotiations several times, first by 30 days, then another 40, which adds up to a total of 70 days of stalling. On the surface, that may seem like ordinary back and forth, but legally, all it does is delay a work stoppage. And a work stoppage is a very specific term of art. It refers to a strike or a lockout that triggers the next stage of negotiations, where the stakes become much higher. People need to understand that this is where the pressure really mounts. WNBA ownership appears to have reached the point of extreme frustration. According to insiders, some owners might genuinely prefer to let the league shut down entirely rather than continue this drawn-out, bitter negotiation. That doesn't mean restructuring or pausing operations. This would be an outright end. And yes, that sounds extreme, maybe even shocking, but it illustrates how serious the situation has become. This isn't a matter of minor disagreements about benefits or scheduling. It's about whether the league itself is sustainable in its current structure. At the heart of this conflict is the players' demand for a pegged revenue number, similar to how NBA contracts are structured. The idea is straightforward. Tie player compensation directly to the money the league makes. On paper, it sounds fair. But Adam Silver and the NBA owners have pushed back, and their reasoning is rooted in the league's history. WNBA ownership has accumulated debt over decades. These are losses that have mounted season after season. Before splitting profits or promising a fixed percentage to players, the league has to ensure it can cover its debt and expenses. The NBA has been covering these losses out of goodwill, but that goodwill isn't limitless. Because of this, discussions around revenue percentages are stalling. The NBA has instead proposed alternative compensation structures, significantly increasing minimum salaries, introducing revenue sharing based on performance incentives, and establishing clear maximum salaries. For example, top WNBA players could now make as much as $1 million annually, while average salaries could rise to around $417,000. Add in performance bonuses, and some players could see closer to $2 million in total compensation. These figures are massive increases compared to the current maximum of just over $200,000. In any other context, that would be considered an extraordinary offer. However, many players have rejected these proposals outright. The league offered dramatic increases, but the players voted overwhelmingly, 98% in favor, to authorize a full strike if necessary. Only about 3% held back, though no official names have been confirmed. Speculation has swirled around Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star, as possibly being one of those few. But even without confirmation, it's clear that the majority of players feel strongly about this issue. Here's where things get complicated. From a business perspective, what's on the table is life-changing compensation. Doubling or tripling salaries is not an insignificant proposal, yet players are demanding even more. And here lies the tension. The WNBA cannot sustainably deliver NBA-level compensation because the revenue simply isn't there. The NBA generates billions in TV contracts, sponsorships, and ticket sales. The WNBA generates far less, even at the peak of its current popularity. Expecting 8-figure salaries in a league with significantly smaller revenue streams is not about fairness, it's about economics. It's basic math. A labor expert explained this in a recent podcast, breaking down the negotiations in detail. According to them, Adam Silver has been present and active from day one, even if he hasn't been publicly visible at the table. The problem isn't skillful negotiation, it's arithmetic. Players want guaranteed percentages of revenue, but ownership cannot guarantee this without putting the league further into debt. For decades, the WNBA has lost tens of millions annually, and ownership has covered the gap. A revenue percentage assumes there's money to share after expenses. In this case, there isn't. There's only a growing pile of debt that has to be addressed before anyone starts splitting profits that simply don't exist. To address this, ownership is getting creative. They are proposing to eliminate certain benefits, such as housing, while increasing maximum salaries to make the headline numbers more appealing. It's a redistribution of funds rather than an expansion of the budget. This strategy is typically associated with union negotiations, not management, but it demonstrates the desperation of ownership to avoid complete collapse. Essentially, owners are trying to focus resources on elite talent that drives attention and revenue, while cutting costs elsewhere. It's smart business under extreme constraints. Negotiation normally works through assigning value to every component: housing, benefits, salaries, then trading back and forth until both sides feel they've gained something. Fundamentally, ownership always wants more value than they give away. That principle is being challenged in this negotiation because players' demands, if met, would push ownership so deep into the red that there would be no path back. This is where the danger lies. If players refuse to compromise on revenue percentages, the league could collapse. This is not speculation. It's the clear warning from experts. A collapse wouldn't just hurt owners, it would destroy the careers of mid- and lower-tier players who rely on the WNBA for development and income. While stars like Caitlin Clark would still earn through endorsements or overseas contracts, hundreds of players in the middle and at the bottom of rosters would be left without opportunities. This is the risk the players are taking by demanding all or nothing. Another factor complicating this negotiation is fan engagement. Much of the WNBA's recent growth has been tied directly to Caitlin Clark's presence. She has drawn large crowds, increased viewership, and energized casual fans. But this growth is fragile. If players strike, force a work stoppage, or turn public attention solely toward compensation disputes rather than basketball, casual fans might disappear. That would undermine the very revenue streams the players are relying on to justify higher salaries. The league's long-term viability depends on sustainable growth, not temporary hype. From an economic perspective, WNBA ownership is asking for realism. They are subsidizing a league with decades of losses, and now face players who are requesting amounts that would accelerate those losses. If the league cannot cover its current debt and operational costs, offering revenue-based compensation is financially irresponsible. The owners are trying to craft a model that balances fair player compensation with the league's survival. This isn't about undervaluing women's basketball. It's about operating a sustainable business. Meanwhile, the player's strategy has introduced a psychological trap. By demanding everything at once, they've created a situation where any reasonable compromise feels like a loss. That's a risky negotiation tactic, especially when the other party is financially constrained. Instead of incremental progress through multiple agreements, the players are pushing for complete victory, which could backfire and result in losing everything if owners walk away. Even Adam Silver, whose role is to mediate, is limited in what he can do. He cannot force owners to accept a deal that guarantees more losses, and he cannot compel players to accept economic realities. All he can do is delay deadlines and encourage concessions, but at some point, the confrontation becomes unavoidable. Once that happens, it could be a strike, a lockout, or even winding down the league entirely. The WNBA is, in many ways, standing at the edge of a cliff. Ownership has offered substantial raises, minimum salaries, performance bonuses, and maximum salaries that represent dramatic improvements over the current reality. Yet, the players' demands are so high that even these increases are deemed insufficient. The league's survival is now balanced on this delicate negotiation. If mismanaged, This could end one of the most important professional women's leagues in the world. Beyond finances, there are structural risks as well. If the WNBA were to fold, players' options vary. Top stars could find alternative leagues overseas or join new ventures that might emerge with better pay. But for many mid-tier and developing players, the WNBA is their primary pathway to a professional career. Without it, opportunities would disappear. Young athletes need domestic leagues for exposure and growth, and losing that infrastructure would have long-term consequences for the sport. Even with offers on the table that double or triple current salaries, players are focused on NBA-level compensation. But the reality is clear. The WNBA cannot generate that revenue without massive increases in viewership, sponsorships, and ticket sales. The economics of compensation must align with revenue, or the league risks insolvency. What looks like disrespect is, in truth, a limitation of what the business can actually afford. The negotiation also highlights the fragile nature of recent fan interest. Caitlin Clark's visibility brought attention and viewers, but that momentum can vanish quickly. Alienating fans by focusing negotiations on money disputes or forcing a work stoppage could erase progress made in recent seasons. Ownership, meanwhile, can absorb losses or walk away, but players cannot. Their careers, income, and development depend on the WNBA existing. All of this underscores the fundamental imbalance in leverage. Players may feel they have power due to recent growth and visibility, but the reality is stark. Forcing aggressive demands could destroy the very league that supports them. Even Adam Silver, caught between owners and players, can only manage deadlines and mediate discussions. At some point, the decisions made will determine whether the WNBA thrives, restructures, or disappears entirely. Ultimately, the story of these negotiations isn't just about money. It's about sustainability, economics, and survival. Ownership has proposed substantial raises, incentives, and revenue-sharing mechanisms. Players, while justified in seeking fair compensation, must recognize the financial constraints and historical losses the league carries. Without compromise, even extraordinary talent cannot maintain a league that becomes financially unviable overnight. Fans, players, and stakeholders all watch closely. The WNBA is at a critical crossroads. If agreements cannot be reached, the league risks collapsing. If it survives, the structure of player compensation and ownership's approach to financial sustainability will be permanently redefined. Negotiations continue, deadlines loom, and the future of professional women's basketball in the United States hangs in the balance. The league's survival depends not only on revenue growth and player star power, but also on realistic expectations, compromise, and a recognition of the economic reality that underpins professional sports.